Does anyone know when William Shakespeare was born? Maybe you can think of the year, but if not, can you maybe guess the century? I may not be discussing William Shakespeare with you today, but it puts into perspective how long school uniforms, which I am speaking about, have been discussed and started to be used. In 1552, the first school required school uniforms. That is in fact 12 years before Shakespeare was born, and he was born in 1564. Did he guess it right? Well, in 1552, the first school to require school uniforms was Christ's Hospital in London. They were a school for poor children. The children came from poverty that went there. They chose to use school uniforms as a way to equalize all the students and make sure that they had appropriate clothing to come in each day. Now, you can try and think, what are other reasons that people might want to use school uniforms in their schools? There's a lot of different reasons, but it always comes down to the behavior of the students as well as their academic success. Not only is their academic success and behavior important, but so is the perception that they have of themselves wearing school uniforms. So do school uniforms in fact improve students' behavior and academic performance? Well, David Brunsma, a sociology professor at Virginia Tech, as well as Carrie Rockamore, a sociology professor who went to Notre Dame, used a national educational longitudinal study. This study was based off of 10th graders, and the hypothesis is that their behavior would be better after using school uniforms. This hypothesis ended up not being supported as they had suspected. In fact, in their own words, students who were required by school policy to wear school uniforms had almost a 3-point decrease in standardized test scores. So not only did it not help their behavior, but it also didn't help their academics. Arya Ansari, an associate professor in the family department who had a PhD in early childhood, as long as Michael Shepard, someone who works in the Department of Human Sciences at Ohio State, as well as Michael Gottfried, an economist targeted education. They did a study that was based off of 6,000 elementary students. They studied a school with uniforms and a school without. There was no difference with behavior. And there was only a 3% deviation in between grades. They did, however, find that low-income students did have an increase in attendance. But when it came down to it, it was less than a day a year. Besides students' behavior and academic success, the perception and the experience that they have with their school uniforms is important as well. What are students' experience and perception overall when required to wear school uniforms? Well, I remember personally, and maybe you can relate to it. When I was in school, the first day of school was the biggest deal when you're picking out your outfit. So I would sleep, and then all of a sudden, beep, 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 my alarm would go off in the morning. And my outfit was already laid out. It might have been my favorite pair of jeans or my cutest sweater that I chose, but it was already laid out and I was super excited to wear it. I'd throw it on and it just felt like winning an Olympic gold medal. I literally felt like $1 million every single time. Now, I couldn't imagine if I had been required to wear school uniforms. That would have been really upsetting for me. Now back to the facts. Ansari, Shepard, and Gottfried found that bullying as well as social anxieties were not deviated and did not have a difference between schools with uniforms as well as schools without them. In fact, with the 10th graders, what they found in the self-reports of the students is that they felt a lower level of belonging when they did have to wear school uniforms. That goes against exactly what they're hoping for the students when implementing school uniforms. Japheth Sanchez, 3-time graduate at University of Nevada, Reno, an associate professor who focuses on studying and developing high-quality educational leaders, did a survey with 49 questions among 1,350 students. These students were 7th and 8th graders, and he found that of these students, 90% of them disliked wearing their uniforms. Mark Vopat, a professor of philosophy, studies children's rights, wrote a paper. He said, in quote, "Children, particularly those between the ages of 4 and 11, are capable of what I term mere expression." So when you think of school uniforms, I don't know if you're like me, but I think of high schoolers. Maybe I think of middle schoolers, but I mainly think of high schoolers for some reason. And it's kind of crazy because you would think that most schools that require school uniforms would in fact be the high school and middle schools. Well, that's false. In the US, of the schools that require school uniforms, it's 23% of elementary schools, only 18% of middle schools, and actually only 10% of high schools. That was really surprising for me. And I want to go back to what Vopat said, because their expression at that age, they only have so many ways of showing it, and that truly is a big one. If I were to choose when I was little to wear a blue shirt, it might be because I was sad, because that's how children think most often. School uniforms are not beneficial in public schools. The idea that school uniforms can improve students' behavior and academic success in their overall experience has been proven to be faulty. I hope that you're able to put your beliefs aside and that you were able to listen to the facts and studies that I was able to present for you to make you see a different side. We don't want our students losing themselves based off of something as simple as what they wear to school.